What is up, everyone? Welcome to Xbox Ultimate Podcast. This is episode number two, two, two. Yes, that's three twos. We are live. Here's the March the no, I almost said April, not yet. March the 28th. And yeah, we're living in gaming goodness now with several games that are out that we've all been playing and got a lot to talk about because been some things happening with the multi-plat future of Xbox, and I know it's everybody's favorite topic, right? Xbox games going to PlayStation. Yeah, I know it's his favorite topic. It always brings out emotions with some people. But I want to have a discussion kind of on the show about the impact, not on the consoles, right? I want to actually have a discussion about the impact on the games and the franchises and what this could end up meaning for the games that are coming soon to PlayStation, plus also future games as well, and how that's all going to shape up and potentially affect things in the future as well. So that's want to kind of approach it from a different angle. Um, Games are what matters the most to me at the end of the day. And yeah, I got some other stuff to talk about. A little bit of Atom Fall, tried it for a little bit, very short amount of time, but I got some very early impressions and thoughts on that game, and as well as some other stuff too. But I hope everyone is doing fantastic, and I hope you enjoy the show today. If you do like the content here on Fun Speculation, hit the like button, share it out, notification bell, sub to the channel. It greatly helps everybody find us. Audio listeners, hey, shout out to you as well. Thank you all for listening. And if you do like the show on your audio platform of choice, leave a review. Let people know what you think. And maybe you'll help people find us there as well. Pong won't be here tonight. He's got stuff going on. Unless somebody else ends up rolling through, we'll see. But it might just be me and Fuzzy tonight, which is cool because we can hang out and have some fun tonight on XUP. But yeah, again, I hope everyone's doing great, and let's get rolling. Fuzzy, Belvedere, the one and the only. I wasn't able to catch the show this morning. I know you were hanging out with Boom.
Mhm.
But how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going great. Just been busy playing a lot of games, watching some horror movies. But other than that, just having fun with all the games that we're getting and the ones that are pretty much right around the corner. Trying to figure out what games I can probably complete before another one that I'm really looking forward to comes out, or what ones I might be able to put on hold and hop into another game and then come back to the other one. So it's like gaming schedule management, I guess is about the
Yeah.
best way to explain it. But just having fun out there. Some updates to some of my favorites. We got the Realms thing coming, the Forza Horizon 5
hmm
in a couple of weeks. But GT7 did an update and they updated the AI. So now you can do the Sophie AI in the custom races, which is awesome, but they still start single file.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they can't mimic real racing where rolling starts are double file, but maybe they can smarten up their AI to get side by side for the start at some point. But other than that, just having some fun, enjoying Assassin's Creed Shadows. I really need to get back to Avowed, but like I said, it doesn't line up with the schedule just yet. And got to see what was that? Marvel's that side
Yeah,
scroller beat 'em up.
Cosmic Invasion, is that what it was? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
looking forward to that. Like, yeah, there's just a lot of unique stuff coming out, and we'll get a release date here soon for a Switch 2. So I haven't seen anything just yet to convince me to buy one. I'm not your typical Nintendo fan. Like, there's only a handful of their
Mhm.
classics that I enjoy, but like the tech behind it and some of the things that they're going to do, looking forward to it, and kind of have a theory on how they might beat PlayStation to a PC store. But that's a whole different story for a different time.
Right.
But man, glad to be here with you, man. So yeah, we got some interesting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this stuff before. Yeah, I'm really digging Assassin's Creed Shadows. Are you satisfied with it? Is it exceed expectations, you think, so far after you put more time?
Yeah, It definitely met and exceeded my expectations. It took a little bit longer than I expected to get to Yasuke, but
Yeah.
finally at Yasuke now. Um, love the brutality of both players as far as either the stabbing and slitting of throats or just the
Yeah.
beheading and dislocation or removal of arms kind of thing. Um, the exploration is great. There's a lot of different things that you come across, different enemies or not so enemies that you can just randomly take out if you feel the need, kind of thing. Some humor when you do the faith jump type of thing when you
Mhm.
hop into a hay bale. For Yasuke, it's I don't know if if he does it every time, but at least that first time it was freaking hilarious.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm enjoying that one. I think about the only other thing, and it's probably when I get later on when come across some more like legendary, I guess, armors and things like some of the status effects, let's just say,
Mhm.
because that's the cool thing with some of the armors or some of the weapons. They'll have a status effect, whether it's bleed or poison or stunning and stuff like that. I like that add on that they have. But the only thing I missed that I enjoyed also in Origins is like cursed weapons, which I don't know if they have those in there, but for Origins, it was like you would have a weapon that does like double the damage, but caps you at like half the health or something like that.
Right,
So it
right,
makes
right,
you
yeah.
kind of like a glass cannon kind of thing. So I don't know if there's anything in there like that, but enjoying it so far. Cost of materials for upgrades isn't so bad, or it's not as grindy as what Odyssey and Valhalla were, at least to me.
Mhm.
But overall, yeah, solid game. 3 million players. They're off to a good start, but behind the scenes, I don't know.
More keeps coming
Ubisoft
out,
starting.
man, like, supposedly I saw something today, dude, about, like, you know, they're getting prepared for, like, some kind of a possible employee lawsuit,
Yeah.
talk about insider trading things and all these things. Me and Pong were talking about this stuff last night and just being like, "What like, how does this like, what is the way that this affects Ubisoft with them creating that subsidiary and, like, how does that possible to just like take everything good and leave everything bad and like how is it just seems it just seems crazy. Yeah, it's good for some people,
Yeah.
but you're leaving a lot of people kind of like holding the bag. And yeah, I'm curious how it's all going to play out. Still, I don't think the saga of Ubisoft is over. It's good to see Assassin's Creed Shadows doing well for them. Like we said before, like even if Assassin's Creed Shadows does gangbusters and stuff, it's not like one game's not going to save them or anything. It's not like they have another game coming out in a couple months and another one coming out in a couple months. It's going to keep that trend going. Like they are still, you know, struggling for the most part. But yeah, that they created somehow a new lifeline. And Pong had a good analogy talking about like the ship is sinking and they bunch of them got on a lifeboat and left a lot of other people in the sinking ship. So yeah, it's
Meanwhile, Yves is drilling a hole in that lifeboat for
well,
whatever
yeah,
reason.
it eases the captain. He's like, bye, bye passengers, bye, bye staff, bye, you know, first mate, you know, everybody else that was here.
Hmm.
We're taking the most valuable things here, and we're hitting the hay. You know, have fun sinking to the bottom. You know, I don't get it, dude, but it's business. You know, Eves, and they live to see another day with that 10-cent money again.
Yeah.
So crazy, crazy, crazy.
I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
know.
see.
It's almost like it feels like that too, well, I wouldn't say comical, but like that too weird to be realistic. Like there was a story about a car manufacturer, not DeLorean. It was a different one, I think, where he'd made a deal with like nefarious characters to finance the company,
Yeah.
and he magically disappeared. And they weren't sure if he disappeared on his own to avoid having to pay the debt, or if the people that he borrowed the money from made him disappear. Um,
Right.
it kind of feels like we're going to find Yves in that situation. Like, where did he go? Oh, is he in some sort of ocean with cement shoes, or is he on an island that's secluded somewhere with all the money from Ubisoft, and everybody's like, "You didn't pay us. We didn't get any money," kind of thing. So yeah, uh, he was always the problem. Like we look back now, what was that, a Vendy or something like that
Yeah,
that was trying
Vivendi.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was like so opposed to that. He was great at getting everybody on his side, and turns out he was the problem all
Yeah.
along. So,
At some point, man, it's
ah,
like they made this shift and like they stopped thinking about what they were doing for the industry and they tried to chase what other people were doing in the industry, right? And
yeah,
when they were made that mentality switch, which things always come from the top, it was just a downward spiral from there. They started out this generation so good,
yeah.
really strong. Like Valhalla was their first $1 billion game. They had Rainbow Six Siege rolling, and it was still earlier in its lifespan. I mean, middle of its lifespan or so. But
Mhm.
and then you started hearing about all these other games that there's starting. Remember, Division 2 even had a resurgence, early on this
Yeah.
generation, and it was like they were rolling. They had they had a rough launch with Watch Dogs Legion, but besides that, they were doing pretty good early this gen, and then all of a sudden it was just like can't game cancellations, announcing all these games of service games, just this weird trend, and now we're sitting where we are today. I don't know if I've seen a company downward spiral as fast as I have Ubisoft over the last 5 years, or actually last three, because their peak was I think in 2022.
Yeah. Like they were riding high during the pandemic to some extent. People were playing their games again. They
Yeah,
they found the audience, and they could have kept that audience, but then the games that were doing well, they were like, you know what? We're going to change things up. We're going to do an alien version or invasion version of Rainbow Six. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessarily what people were looking for. Um, and then with Division, it's like, well, you everybody's talking about extraction shooters and like Escape from Tarkov, and I still feel Division's like the true first mainstream, or even in all honesty, the first real extraction shooter. I
hmm,
mean, yes, Tarkov is probably a year older, but I think as far as for audience exposure, yeah, Division was definitely that extraction shooter, and they should have capitalized on that. And they kind of walked away from it to have that team work on some license IP, which I guess hindsight, it probably wasn't the best move, but it probably seemed like a good opportunity at the time. And I don't know. There's so much potential. It seems like that was wasted, or time that was wasted, where they probably should have released Skull and Bones the way the developer originally wanted it before they started, compiling all
yeah,
these microtransaction things to make it a live service. Like, it would have probably survived as a live service in its earlier phase, and then it could have progressed, adding more and more stuff. Like, you look at like Sea of Thieves, some of the same microtransactions and things were available in Sea of Thieves, but it built over time. It wasn't something that was like day one, you can buy all these different sales and crates of supplies and different skins, and just release the game that people want to play, get them hooked, and then offer them a skin pack, or offer them
right.
a certain look for their ship or something type of thing.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing too. When I heard behind the scenes several times that they couldn't figure out how to monetize Splinter Cell, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't get it for so long. I'm like, dude, like make Spies versus Mercs, put a lot of effort into that with the multiplayer aspect of the game. And then from there, you can add on to it with content. You can add on to it with maps. You can add on to it with skins or like weapons, like whatever, just normal traditional things that we see
Hmm.
in other games. And I was like, yeah, no, a lot of people don't like that stuff, but if that's what it takes to get another Sats or another Splinter Cell, I was like, hey, go for it, like and that would have made them put even more effort into one of my favorite modes all time in gaming as well. But it seems like no, it had to be like this black hole game, that they wanted everything that they made to be. And they put all their investments just chasing for that one thing, and it was just not, I don't think it's ever going to work out for them. doing that. But they have a Rainbow Six Siege, which is still successful, and they just announced Rainbow Six Siege X, which is going to update it and all these other kind of things for their like 10th season. And I think that game still has a future. But overall, yeah, it's just weird to see all the franchises that we know and love kind of be left by the wayside for so long. But it is what it is. Well, everything changes over time. Maybe they'll end up having a resurgence with this new company, and it'll always be a part of gaming history, and we'll see what happens. But man,
Fingers crossed.
yeah, fingers crossed. I guess I was actually hoping they would end up selling to somebody, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still in the cards at some point.
Yeah, at least for Division. Division is that game that I think is underrated to some extent and is where it's at because it's been ignored. Like, there's so much potential. Like, I wouldn't say it was equally as large as what Destiny could be overall or what Destiny achieved, but it wasn't too far off, I don't think. Like, I think they had some elements from the first one that they should have carried over more to the second one, but they could have, if they kept the team focused on it, I think they would have had, it wouldn't have been a Destiny killer, but it would have been a nice, competition for that type of space. So,
Yeah.
but
Wow. Thanks to Pong, who's not able to be here right now, but he just did share some goodies here with us to me in the DM. Something I'm excited about. You know how Respawn is making a tactics Star Wars game?
mhm.
Well, Insider Gaming has just posted the first leaked images of it. Yeah, that has not been
Okay.
announced yet. So I got those here actually. So shout out to Pong for contributing in what way he can. Yeah, I'll pull it up on the screen. Why not? Let's see here. Yeah, it's looks like traditional turn-based tactics. Um, this is Insider Gaming here. This is straight up like XCOM, bro. Star Wars XCOM. You got Overwatch. It says combining two Overwatch. You see two Overwatch here. He's overwatching. He's overwatching. You see like stormtroopers back here. You got a Jedi. Let's see. You got the closer view from like the hit chance and the abilities. This is looking sick, man. I can't wait for this one coming out. And I don't know when the release date is, but it'll hopefully be sooner than later because I am going to want to play this ASAP. Holy crap, that looks cool. Anyway, I'll move on
Mhm.
from that. But yeah, something else that came out was Atomfall, Buzz.
Yeah.
So Atomfall is a
Mm.
Game Pass day and date game from Rebellion that was kind of their first foray into this style of games, kind of like an open sandbox environment, kind of quarantine zone. You're stuck in it and got to try and find your way out thing. And it's like Fallout-y slash stalkery, but with Rebellion flavor. I don't. You can make a ton of comparisons to it. So I was anticipating because I liked a lot what I saw from the trailers and everything. So I played it, and I'm gonna say I didn't play much of it, but there's a reason why. So it's not often I'm like too negative on games or whatever. And I really thought this one was gonna click for me, but early on I just had some very specific issues with it that just made me stop playing. And I'm probably not going to go back to it because I don't really see if the fixes for my issues. It's not performance. It's not like anything like that. Like the game was running well. It seemed like it was super smooth. I liked how it opened in you open like in a bunker, and you get out of there and everything's fine. And everything kind of changed. I stepped out into the open world. Graphics look cool, not the end all be all or whatever. Look fine, I'm not too picky on that
Yeah.
stuff. Then I walk forward and I see this like little mound. Like, okay, I'm just gonna walk over there and just kind of walk over that to get. This thing had like very low pitch. This mound, right? Like very low pitch. Like this. Okay, I start walking up and I start sliding backwards. I'm like,
Wait,
okay,
what?
well, I'm like what? Like, like this little thing here, I can't walk. Oh, like through that, like, then I noticed like every little area I would come to, like all the buildings and everything, like the way in was to have to hit this little animation for like a crawl space thing, you know?
Mm.
And it's like, okay, like that's cool. Can I just crouch and walk in? You know? Can I just like not have to like go up to it and hit this button and like wait? And that kept happening over and over. Every little exploration place I would go to would be this thing, or I ended up having to crawl through a crawl space and hit a button to activate it. So that was getting on my nerves. And these are, you could say, they're nitpicky things, but like I just felt really like locked down from freedom of movement, I guess you could say. And I see what they're doing with the game, but I don't like to feel as restricted in an open world game has a lot of exploration and stuff. And I really felt restricted with that. As places I figured I could go, I really couldn't access, and stuff like that. So, uh, voice acting seemed fine from the characters I talked to and stuff like that. And then I ran into an enemy, right? I'm like, okay, I'm really far away from this guy, right? Really
Mhm.
far away, like really far. And he's like, I see you. And I'm like, really far. I'm like, okay, so their sight line is like pretty much forever, right?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't do anything though. He just keeps talking. And I'm sneaking around and just walking around. And he just keeps talking and not doing anything. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you and stuff. And he's just standing there doing his like normal routine. And so I just go around and walk through this like area, and I get behind him. Then I kind of follow him for a little while. I was like, oh, I'm gonna take him down. Then he starts walking into a ramp, the side of a ramp, and he's just walking into a wall, just constantly, you know, just like sliding, walking, like they used to do in games when they're janky all the time. And he would just sit there walking, and I'm like, okay, so like this guy's an idiot. First off, he never reacted to me. First off, when he saw me from way
Mhm.
far away, never did anything. I got He was still talking to me even as I was right behind him, like acting like he could see me as he's walking into this wall, just like persistently forever, not turning. And I'm like, okay, so I just take him out real quick, and I'm like, that's it, I'm done. You know, I just like it. So like it had is and I had those issues. I play stealth a lot in these kind of games, and I like to explore a lot in these open world games and stuff, which you can do, but I just felt so restricted, and I felt like the enemy AI was so stupid that it wasn't going to be rewarding and to even bother with it. So I was like, okay, um, maybe I'll pick it up later and give it another go at some point. But that's my early feedback on Adamfall. With everything else out there that I have to play, games that are in similar genres and stuff, I would just rather spend my time with those. You
Mhm.
Have you had any chance to play Adamfall yet?
No, I hadn't even had a chance to download it. Like it was going to be on the list depending on how Shadows was, and I'm kind of at the point where I want to finish Shadows before. Although I doubt I'll do it, but I want to finish it before South of Midnight. But I was going to try to squeeze in Adamfall somewhere along there, but uh, after hearing that, it might wait. I'll wait until I hear that there might be some patches for the AI, but the overall like gameplay I've saw as far as like the in the trailers and things looks interesting.
Mhm.
Um, doesn't look like it's too much of a similarity to Stalker, but has similar I guess environment, just different approach on the enemies and whatnot. But yeah, there's just so many games right now that was one that's like, okay, I was planning on downloading it. Uh, Probably download it to console at this point because I think for South of Midnight I'm gonna play that on PC. I think, but
Mhm.
yeah, I was going to download that to the console, play it, and then hop right back to Assassin's Creed. But it's like, yeah, I finally got the Yasuke. I'm not putting this down except for South of Midnight right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, Adam Fall's going to have to wait, unfortunately. But
South.
it's a good problem to have that all these games are out at this point, and yeah, I'm sure that that's going to be in Game Pass long enough for me to give a try. Probably after South of Midnight and Assassin's Creed. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think if like I was desperate to play something like or like there's nothing out there, I would like spend more time with it and then be like try and figure it out and stuff and see if like
Mhm.
it got better or more interesting, with the world and stuff. But like right now, just those mechanics, and I can kind of tell it's their first time doing a game like this because of those things. It's like you know, um, AI think on the enemies is it's not something I'm like overly picky about usually, but when it's like that blatantly bad, it like breaks the experience, you know. And when you can't walk over a slight mound, that's like I mean, 2 feet. Like, I literally I'm a big guy. I would have no problem traversing that terrain whatsoever. In bare feet, boots, sandals, I can walk it, no problem. I wouldn't
Mhm.
be stepping up and then sliding backwards, like, on these things, and that was, like, kinda par for the course. Like, any kinda little obstacle whatsoever, you just can't go over it. So
Mhm.
and then the whole thing about climbing through all the crawl spaces to get in everywhere is just like it's kind of annoying. I'd rather just at least crouch and walk in and without having to do all that stuff. It's like it
Yeah.
but that's feedback for them. I think they have something there. If they can improve on some of that stuff, then I could make the experience like more immersive and engaging. Right. I know a lot of people do like this game though, because it has some great reviews. It has some mixed reviews and stuff. So a lot of people are finding the fun in it. So yeah, don't let my nobody let my thoughts on it stop you from giving it a go. It's in Game Pass, of course, as well,
Yeah.
right? So everybody can make up their own mind on it. But yeah, it's just kind of one that I was like looking forward to, but just kind of disappointed with. So which doesn't happen often, but it is what it is. I got so much to play, man. I'm still digging Assassin's Creed Shadows. I need to finish Avowed as well. But yeah, there's lots more coming as well as for PlayStation fans. If you're a PlayStation console or hey, close your ears, Xbox guys. Close your ears. I know you're gonna hate this conversation here. Like just hearing the words Forza Horizon 5 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle coming to PS5 this month. But it did make some quite a bit of news actually swirling around this week because, hey, guess what's topping the pre-orders on PlayStation? Fuzzy,
Xbox.
it's Xbox games, right? It's games that nobody ever wanted or cared about, or people everybody thought it was like, hey, this is like Xbox has no games, right? Now it's like, hey,
Mhm.
they're giving us our games and we can't wait to get them because there's nothing else coming out on PlayStation that we're excited about. So we're gonna buy these old games and pre-order them and buy them like it's our own first party at this point. It's like how excited the PlayStation guys are for these games coming to them. But you can look at it from a console perspective, how it affects consoles and stuff. And I think a lot of people always keep talking about the impact on the brand identity, the impact on the console hardware. Will people even need to own an Xbox anymore if they can own PlayStations and if these games keep coming, all that other kind of stuff, right? But I kind of like to want to look at it from the perspective of the actual games. Like how is this new audience, right? An audience that is a massive audience, right? Forza's been on PC, it's been on Xbox, right? Forza
Yeah.
Motorsport launched day and date, PC and Xbox. So did Forza Horizon 5, and both were massive successes for its amount of players and all that kind of stuff. Um, Both keep getting updates regularly, and games keep getting better and better, and the audiences keep growing, and much beloved franchises. And we've had games go to PlayStation before. So far since
Mhm.
last year, you had Grounded, you had Sea of Thieves, you had these other things. But this is like this month. These are like two massive games that one was critically acclaimed that launched last year that was a massive success for Xbox. If it had launched a little bit sooner, probably would have been a game of the year contention and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And you also have Forza Horizon 5, which is to many people the best arcade racer of all time. Depends on who you ask. OGs might say Need for Speed Underground 2, possibly, or something like that. But it's very arguable that Forza Horizon 5 takes the cake when it comes to arcade racers. And I think you'd have a really good argument for that. And especially with the player base, player count, all that stuff. It's getting updates as well,
Yeah.
even when it launches on PlayStation. But this is a big deal with the Forza name launching on PlayStation. Now, with that, you already got a huge fan base. You already got a massive amount of players playing Forza Horizon 5. But one thing we
Mhm.
can't argue against is that there's a lot of PlayStation owners out there, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of PlayStation owners that have never really dabbled in Forza whatsoever. And I think overall, just when we look at it from a sales perspective, from fan base perspective, from the franchise even being bigger than it was already, and stuff. I think inviting a player base as large as a PlayStation player base, which this game is again high on the pre-order list, is going to be a big moment for Forza, and sales and helping the future games and development updates, all those other kind of things. So, what are you thinking kind of happens after this launch on PlayStation for Forza Horizon 5 with the player base? Like, I mean, how many more players do you think they're gonna potentially see?
I think we see another 5 million at start, and it grows from there. They'll be at 50 million players before the month of May. I think there's enough interest on PlayStation, um, that enough people will either some will double dip, and I'm still kind of on the sideline on that, just because I'd have to start my car collection all over again. But um, there's a lot of those. Like I try to look at it from the perspective when I was only on PlayStation, and Drive Club was that game I was looking for, and they kept on calling that the Forza Killer, and it didn't really amount to what I expected. It launched without the online, which was more than 50% of what the game was supposed to be about, like leaderboards and online and group racing, or group versus group type of stuff. Um, there was nothing else like what I experienced with Forza Horizon 2. Being able to take shortcuts, cutting through the grass, like that wasn't like Drive Club was a different type of game. It was just like imaginary short circuits, either circuits or loops or something along those lines, or like just point A to point B races. But you didn't have like where you could take shortcuts, or you didn't have off-road racing with different vehicles, and you didn't have like King of the Hill, or some of the other like playground stuff that you can do, or the custom races that you can do and stuff. So I think once the PlayStation player base gets a hold of this, and word spreads amongst them as far as like friends on their friends list and stuff, I think there will be a significant amount of people on PlayStation to buy it. But my early guess is 5 million copies pretty quickly.
Mhm.
But I could see 10 million plus at some point. Not saying that it's going to completely rival GT7. There are different genres, but I think GT7 somewhere around 12 million copies sold, maybe a little bit more, from when it launched to today. I think Forza gets pretty close, because on my friends list on PlayStation that are not Xbox, also like the PlayStation only players, most of them that have GT7, they play it for a little bit, and that's about it. They got like maybe 2 hours in. Most of them haven't really, uh, done any of the online racing or any of the licenses and stuff like that. So with this, with I guess you could say with Forza Horizon, it's a lot more open as far as to, let's say, beginning racers. You could turn all of the assistance things off and make it, more sim-like at that point. But it's a lot easier for people to kind of hop on board, get used to driving the cars, get used to the different like gaming loops on earning more money to get more cars, or doing tunes, or doing the painting of the cars and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is going to do gangbusters. Like, it's already charting fairly well as far as the pre-orders, but I think we're already at 44 million players, just on
Yeah.
PC and Xbox. Another 5 or 6, I think is pretty easy for PlayStation to do within, a month or so.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that over time too, just because I like this generation, like there's a handful of games that many would consider probably like must own games. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like for many it'd be like Elden Ring, right? Or
Yeah,
Hogwarts Legacy, you know.
yeah,
Depends on what kind of games you're into, right? For some it's like Spider-Man 2 or whatever, or God of War Ragnarok, or for me that like Forza Horizon 5,
yeah,
Starfield, you know,
yeah,
Indiana Jones are ones that it's like must experience games, you know? Um, and when you get a game that is kind of like a must own title on your platform, it's going to do well because word of mouth is just going to continue to spread from the community there. People will see their friends playing it, people will be talking about it. Now, Forza isn't as big of a name on PlayStation, obviously, as Gran Turismo, but there's actually a good chance here it becomes like very popular name with the PlayStation community on a franchise that they've ignored all these years. Now you obviously have the ones that are familiar with it that always use it for console war, GT versus Forza, and that's obviously regarding motorsport mainly.
yeah,
But the Forza name goes along with that. And the PC players know it is hugely popular on PC. Xbox players know the quality they're getting in the Forza games. But it might be a slap in the face for these players to see this game for the first time and experience it. And also the amount of content that's in it now, as opposed to launch. Like, it launched with a ton of content, but
yeah,
you're talking about years of additional content added to that game since then, with the multiple expansions or even adding more for the launch. And I'm thinking, like, once this game actually hits on PlayStation, it's going to become one of those like must own games for even PlayStation players as well. So over time, I think it's just going to continue to sell and sell and sell. And what does that mean for us? What does that mean for Xbox gamers, right? Oh, we don't care because I don't care if these fucking ponies get to play my game. I hate it. I hate it because it makes my console feel less special, right? Well, what could happen? Let me tell you why this could actually benefit you as an Xbox player. Well, the more people that buy Forza games and play Forza games benefit the future development and production of updates and also new Forza games. And if you love Forza, and which I know most of you do because you're Xbox players, it would be a good thing if this game is actually successful on PlayStation. If a game sells 10 million copies, 20, 30, 40, whatever, right? Starts getting into that stratosphere of like that 60, 70 million copy territory, you're in a very rare territory, right? Where you become kind of a crown jewel franchise of the industry. Now, Forza to the Xbox fans is already a crown jewel, but if you want more investment into Forza to make it even bigger and better, and they keep doing more and more, I think that's what we're gonna get because of this. So that's the flip side, right? Yeah, you may feel less special because the console becomes less exclusive with the games that are on it, but it might be actually better for the games. And I'm gonna be eh, I'm gonna be watching it. I want to see everybody's reaction that have never touched Forza game before. Yeah, when they experience Forza Horizon 5 for the first time. I'm curious also,
Yeah.
like, it's not like the game has any problem with player counts or anything like that. It's always doing well, but I'm curious about the influx just right away that could kind of reignite the community again around this game. You gonna dive in and see what's going on with those PlayStation guys hopping into Forza? Because you were one of them, but originally Fuzzy, you were a PlayStation guy that was like Gran Turismo
Hmm.
is the greatest thing in the world. You know, nothing could ever touch Gran Turismo. And then PlayStation started doing stupid shit and stuff, and you started
Yeah.
getting your eye on Xbox, and then you experienced Forza Motorsport for the first time, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh,
Yeah.
oh,
It blew my mind. Like from day one, like Forza Horizon 2 was when I first came on board. And I think I also did the DLC for the Fast and the Furious as well. So I had
mhm,
those cars, did that DLC, which I don't think it was tied to the achievement score or whatever, which I still have one achievement that won't pop for that. But with Forza Horizon 2, you were driving from event to event. You could take shortcuts. You had off-road racing. You had a wide variety of cars. Which, looking at Drive Club, I think when that launched, it had like 80, maybe 90 cars. It wasn't a lot of cars. And here it is, Forza Horizon 2. I think at that point was like more than 300 cars. Like that was mind blowing in itself that there were that many different cars. You had some that probably shouldn't be in a racing game, but quite a bit that should, like current day modern cars that we all love, and as well as the classics and a few of the hypercars and things like that. Like there was just so much more to Forza Horizon 2, and then Forza Horizon 3 came out, and going to Australia, you also had like the Australian V8 cars
mhm,
out there. Just the way the environment was, the whole building up of the festival. That one was a game changer once again. A lot more destructible stuff. You could hit telephone poles, I think, at that point without completely wrecking or coming to a complete stop. And then by the time 4 came out, you had seasons, and 5 you
mhm.
still have seasons, although it's not as varying as it looks in 4, but you still have that formula where you got the different seasons. You'll notice more so on the mountaintop for the snow and stuff, but just they're like a few cars short of 900, I think, right now.
Right.
um this was a game that started, I think, with like 600 when it came out. So they've added 300 plus cars. Now, sure, some of them are DLC and stuff, which I think DLC probably adds 40 or 60, somewhere around that on top. But considering, you're looking at over 700 to 840 cars that are in the game that you can earn, unlock, purchase, and or discover in like barn finds, which that was another cool thing. The
Yeah.
barn finds was awesome. Like, oh, I get to find this classic car and then fix it up, or have them fix it up for you and do special races with it and stuff. Like, yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few minds blown. Like, people have always heard that, yeah, it's Forza is it's pales in comparison to GT, but I think once they actually get it in hand, considering it's the arcade racer of the generation in the past couple of
Yeah.
generations, I would say they'll definitely have more respect on that name when they open their mouth about it, type
Yeah.
of thing.
I
Because
mean, Forza's gorgeous, right? But like, so is Gran Turismo. But like, with
yeah,
the main special thing about Forza has always been the way it feels.
yeah,
It's like once you get your hands on it, it's like, oh man, this is like handles and plays way better than any other of these racers that are like supposed to be sim arcade racers on consoles. And like just the way that the tires grip and feel as you go around the track, and it doesn't feel like you're on like on a rail kind of system or something. It's like
yeah,
it's just I think there's gonna be a lot of eyes open. Like, yeah, I think most of those guys, most of the PlayStation guys are like comparisons that everything of what they know of Forza is just comparisons of like screenshots on fucking Twitter or like Digital
hmm,
Foundry breakdown videos. It's like, oh, see,
hmm,
yeah, GT7's better because Digital Foundry said it has more specular light in the photo mode, and it's like,
Hmm.
what? Have you you got to experience Forza to
Yeah.
know, and it's like, and I think when they get their hands on Forza, like, oh, this is Forza shit. Like, okay, I see what you're saying now, guys. I think it's gonna happen, Fuzzy. I think there's gonna light some um cause some light bulbs to light up a little bit, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, it could be better for the franchise in the long run. So we'll see what happens. Looking forward to seeing the outcome. I'll still play it PC on my Xbox. I don't care where other people are getting to play it. Right. I just hope the franchise
Yeah.
continues to be bigger and better than ever before. And that includes motorsport. I wonder if we'll end up. Do you think there's a day we'll see motorsport go to PlayStation? Because that's the intriguing one. Because that's more the direct competitor to Gran Turismo. You know.
I- you know, I would like to see it happen, but I want to see Turn 10 add a few more things. Like they have another track, like a classic they're bringing back, uh, pretty much a road track from Japan they're bringing back. So when they do that, and I think the drift mode is already added. I haven't checked in a while, but like once they get a few of those things finalized, put it on there and show what it means to have a racer that has a good collection of race cars. Like people used to joke, "Oh, they got trucks and SUVs." Well, it looks like Gran Turismo is doing that now because they've added quite a few vans and trucks
Yeah,
as
yeah,
of
yeah.
late. But like with the SUVs and trucks that they've had in motorsport or even in Horizon, some of them make sense because there are some hot SUVs out there, like the Porsche Cayman, I forget what it's called, the actual Lamborghini. I mean,
Hmm.
me being a fan of the Grand Cherokee, Trackhawk, and stuff like that. Yeah, there are some decent SUVs that you can race in, not only in real life but in the game, and it makes sense. But they haven't put that in Gran Turismo for whatever reason. But they'll put in the old Unimog, which
Yeah. Well, they'll
yes,
put
the
it in.
Unimog is in Horizon, but what is it doing um in GT7? It's not in Motorsport, or at least from what I can remember, it's not in Motorsport. But yeah, I think Motorsport could go over there. I'm not pushing for it to go over there, but it, show them what having over 20 plus tracks means. Show them what having over 800 cars that more than 60% of them are actual track cars and not concept cars or imaginary cars that some of these car companies have made up with the polyphony engineers and stuff. That would be a bit of a different eye opener for some of those out there where they're all about GT7 because of their Red Bull cars.
Hmm.
That's great, but why not have real Indy cars based off of the real IndyCar series, or real NASCAR cars based off of NASCAR, or real Formula One cars as opposed to the made up ones? Well, not really made up, but like the Toyota and Honda uh, variants that they have, as opposed to having a true Ferrari F1 or a true Williams, or any of the other real F1 cars, or even the prototypes, or the GT cars, which they have GT cars in it, but the Ferrari that they have is from 2013.
Hmm.
There's been, I think, three generations of different Ferrari GT cars since then. So they're a good bit behind, which I believe the more recent Ferraris are actually in motorsport. So, yeah, bring motorsport over there and explain to Polyphony you're taking too long to add cars and add content, and you're not supporting the game enough with only adding 3 cars once a month kind of thing. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's just my
Forza
2 cents
just
on it.
announced another update, right, with the the Japan mountain track. I forget the name of it off the top of my head,
Mhm.
but it was always one of my favorites because I just love the downhill racing with all the curves and kind of drifting around those things. So I
Mhm.
can't wait for that, man. Did they? You know when that's coming, Fuzzy?
I think that's coming next month. It's not too far off. It's like usually they do things from the announcement. It's within like a 2 week
Yeah,
window.
I
So
know. I know they don't
it's
announce
I'm
like
pretty sure
it's
it's like next
6
week or
months. You're gonna
something.
get a track. No, it's not what the. Yeah, if they're announcing a track and content like that, it's gonna be fairly soon. So I'll have to make sure I dive in, play
Yeah.
that as well when that update comes out because that was always one of the best ones, and I can imagine how gorgeous that's gonna look. With the snow and the mountains and everything, the lighting coming around there with their lighting model that they have on Forza. Oh my god. Like I
Yeah.
just salivate just like thinking about playing on that fucking track right now. But yeah, it's not Forza's not the only franchise that's going this month. It's also Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which those games have been number 1 and number 2 on the pre-order charts for PlayStation. Surprise, 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 everybody. Um, but that's an interesting one too because Indiana Jones was Machine Games' first thing that they've did since after Wolfenstein, right?
Yeah.
And it launched to critical acclaim. It was a success. It had Game Pass obviously day and date. People loved it, but like it's not gonna have like 40 million players like Forza. You know what I mean? It's just not that kind of
Right.
game. But this kind of game can also be successful on a platform like PlayStation, where these fan bases used to paying $70 for single player experiences all the time because that's what they think gaming's all about. So
Mhm.
when they get this first person game, it's going to melt their brains.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they're gonna handle that. They're like, I'm getting sick. I don't know how I can play this. It's first person. What is this? First person with movement and stuff. How do we even? I don't know how to handle this. Everybody. Um,
I need the camera to be over my shoulder.
when they experience first person, it reminds me, what I am Indiana Jones. What's going on? I don't see. Anyway, so when they experience that, it's gonna be interesting. But besides that, like, I think this has got a chance to find a good fan base there as well. And
Yeah.
as successful as the game is, right? They're not touting like 20 million copies sold of Indiana Jones or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So PlayStation, you might sell quite a few copies of this game. It's already had the critical acclaim, so it's got that behind it now, and you're having this
Mhm.
new player base is going to have access to it again for the first time. And be honest, let's just be honest that fan base may be starving a little bit more for great games like that too. So um,
Yeah.
I think this could actually help. And supposedly rumors were that they already have done a deal for more sequels, right? Because
Yep.
Disney and Lucas were so happy with the critical acclaim and how the quality and the story that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle achieved. Troy Baker did such a damn amazing job. So much so that Harrison Ford himself has multiple times praised Troy Baker's voice acting and acting ability during for the game. So yeah, you got a potential multi-game franchise here. And again, you know, like it or not, the more players you have, the more money comes in for a franchise, uh, the more can be put into it, right? So, do you think this
Yeah.
ends up having a positive effect for Indiana Jones?
I think it will. Mainly because and there's not a direct one to one comparison because yes, Uncharted is a third person
Yeah.
game that they're very familiar with, but because Naughty Dog is no longer really focusing on that IP, there are still a lot of fans for that style of game. And to have it where, yes, it's going to be in first person, there are some third person camera perspectives when you're doing some of the traversal, climbing, and so forth. But I think the aspect of exploration, the fact that it is more of like a true, it's not a true open world, it's more of a hub world type of thing. But
Yeah, big,
the
large
way it
zones. Yeah.
feels, yeah, the way it feels, I think it will appeal to that same player base that enjoyed the Uncharted. And while there are going to be some that try to make that direct comparison, I wasn't expecting as much as what I got out of Indiana Jones. I was expecting maybe a slightly smaller experience, more on rails than like kind of like the way the first couple of Uncharted were, where it was more of a I wouldn't say a straight line, but it was only, you know, you were definitely on more rails as far as your exploration and things like that. But there's so much more in the puzzle aspect. You know, the way of sneaking past some of the NPCs, the different approaches on how you can do that. You can go loud, or you can go quietly, or try and take them out one by one by one, kind of thing. But yeah, it's so much more than I was expecting for that game. Like I was blown away that one, they have like the movie tie-in in the beginning to kind of get you used to the movement, but the onboarding from there, it is straightforward, easy to pick up as far as doing the traversal and stuff. And you can get creative where you can either use the whip, you can use objects you could pick up to either bash them over the head or throw at them, or you can throw it in a different direction to distract the AI to go over to that. You have a wide range of difficulty adjustments that you can make. Like, you can make things easier for yourself, or you can make the AI extremely alert. So it makes it for a bit of a tougher fight. But everything in between, like, you have so much freedom with this game. And I think it will appeal to that group, just considering what they're used to playing and what they haven't been getting, more recently as far as from their first party. So yeah, I think this will do well as well. And I think between Xbox and PC, it was at like 4 million copies or something along those lines. So I challenge you, PlayStation. Outdo 4 million. Let's see you do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how a game does there. I mean, it's like it's I don't know if it'll show up at the Game Awards this year because it missed the cutoff last year, but this year's so
Yeah.
stacked, and I think releasing this year on PlayStation might help its case to keep it fresh in people's minds, especially if it does well. Um, there's still content coming for it at some point as well,
Yeah.
that we have to look forward to, and it was a fantastic game. So, um, with the Xbox ecosystem, on the console side, there's only, to be honest, because of the amount of consoles compared to competition out there, there's only so much that the games could do numbers wise on a console, and this is I think a console kind of heavy game as well. Like a game like Halo is going to do massive, known franchise and all this stuff. Bringing out Indiana Jones now in this day and age was like, okay, people were wondering, like, would anybody care? Because Indiana
Mhm.
Jones, right? The movies were kind of disappointing for a lot of people and stuff, and it was always like, is this a dead franchise and all that kind of stuff. But like Machine Games kind of did the impossible and put Indiana Jones back on the map from a gaming perspective because of how damn good the quality of this game was. And I think it actually exceeded their expectations for how well it did on Xbox consoles and PC. But going to PlayStation as well, as with how many users there are there, is just open up another whole world of possibility for the chance to have success on those games. So when you have a gem like Indiana Jones, and I want to see more. I want to see more games. So I think we would get it regardless, but having that extra money from all those players is definitely going to help with the investment in that franchise that I hope continues, and it'll help Machine Games for sure as well.
Mhm.
So that's a benefit um, for us as players in the Xbox ecosystem. So looking forward to that, man. And I'm curious. I'm gonna keep my ears and eyes peeled to see the reaction from players that get to play these games for the first time that always shat on them before. That so
Mhm.
these people that said these games suck. Nobody cares about these games. Nobody wants these games. It's the number one fucking game pre-ordered on your system.
Yeah.
Apparently, you were
Well,
not speaking for the PlayStation fan base when you were making all that damn noise on Twitter and all these other places. Because you don't understand what the PlayStation players want. Obviously, because the games are fucking number 1 and 2 on the pre-order. Like and that's going to continue to happen. Like with
yeah.
a lot. What do you think Doom: The Dark Ages is going to show up on the pre-orders? It's going
Yeah.
to be pretty damn high. Guess who's going to make that game? it is crazy that Xbox has more big first party games from their systems, from their side, from their developers launching on PlayStation than PlayStation could even fathom to put out for themselves.
Yeah.
You're starving.
Yeah, they're
We're feeding you, and you're feeding us and the franchises. Thank you. I applaud your support to the Xbox ecosystem, everybody. Thank you for
support the
investing in our games. Because I want to keep playing
support the
those
devs.
motherfuckers in Game Pass.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, like you said, the games that they were worried about motion sickness for, or that it's not an Uncharted, or a racing game that, oh, it's not a real racing game. It wasn't claiming to be a real racing game. It's an arcade racer that's fun. Oh well,
Yeah.
we got GT7 and Need for Speed, but Need for Speed, yes, being multiplat, it isn't what it used to be in comparison. So I think there's going to be a lot of people eating crow. But the key thing is those loud voices on social media, or the small number of PlayStation fans. Yeah, they might be what you would consider the hardcore, where they're buying multiple games a year or multiple games a month kind of thing. But those that are like the more casual player base that primarily bought their PlayStation because all of their buddies have a PlayStation to play Call of Duty or to play Madden or any of the other big multi-plat type games out there. Now they see that this arcade racer that they heard was, a 9 or a 10, I think is what IGN gave that game when it came out on Xbox. Those guys are going to see, oh well, they said it was a good Xbox game, so oh, we finally get it. Yeah, let me check it out. And then when their friends find out about it, because they're all excited about that game or having fun, yeah, it's going to do well, and it's good to see that part of the player base support the game, so we get
Yeah.
the more sequels, continue getting the updates on the content. Like, this is probably the longest lasting Forza Horizon that's ever happened. Like, typically it was like a 3, maybe 4 year full lifespan before it's delisted, and they're helping keep the license for a bit longer, and we're still getting more support as far as cars and things like that. And with Indiana Jones, there'll be that. Hopefully, we'll get the DLC maybe this later this winter, or later this year. I think it was like the Land of the Giants. I don't know if they get the DLC at the same time, but in any event, we'll probably wind up getting that DLC later this year. So
Yeah, man.
looking forward to that.
But it's like Xbox been on a roll with just great releases, and we got more to come soon. Overall, it's just I want all these games to succeed and find as many players as they can at this point, because I want more. Like, I just see this as like, okay, I'm a Game Pass subscriber. I'm in the Xbox ecosystem, and like at this, I'm not worried about hardware or anything going forward, because like we already know they're making it, and we already know it. We got a lot of input, or not. We got a lot of insight into kind of what's happening in with what they're developing. So with all of that being said, potential like open ecosystem type device in the future for Xbox, but we still have our Game Pass subscriptions. We still have all these games that they're developing. At this point, I'm just like, fuck, like, let all the games be as successful as possible, so they keep making more and more and more, because we all benefit, and I benefit off of it, because we fucking get to play games in Game Pass day and date, and hey, and keep increasing my value in my subscription. I'm super happy with that. And if they keep this cadence up, man, it's crazy. It's crazy, this cadence. Fuzzy, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, followed
Mhm.
by Avowed just a couple months after that, right?
Yep.
Now we have South of Midnight coming around the corner, right?
Mhm.
We have Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 coming around the corner. We have Doom the Dark Ages coming around the corner, like there, and we have Ninja Gaiden 4 coming around the corner. We got a surprise this year with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black.
Mhm.
Oblivion remake supposed to be right around the corner this year as well. Possibly a Gears collection. Later this year, there's even more. It's going to be absolutely crazy to see everything we get with this cadence of games that we all are benefiting from, and the more successful these games are, the better for all of us to keep getting and see Xbox keep doubling down on their investments into these franchises, their studios, to the subscription service, and all these other kind of things as well, man. So, the new Call of Duty will be later this year as well. That we'll get in Game Pass day and date again. I didn't even mention like right before fucking Call of Duty last year, or right before Indiana Jones last year in December, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 had launched into
Yeah.
Game Pass. Insane.
Yeah.
Insane cadence. Like
And
if you were to tell me we'd have this kind of cadence of big first party titles at the beginning of this generation rolling forward in 2025, it'd be like, no, and it's not going to happen. You know, we were hoping for one a quarter
right.
at best. We're like, oh, maybe one day they can get to that magic one a quarter. We're getting like one every 2 fucking months, and actually more than that. More than that. Crazy. Love it.
And we're going to get Outer Worlds 2 at some point later this year.
I forgot.
I know
Outer
Fable
Worlds
was
2. Yes.
moved, but yeah. And the June showcase, I expect at least one more game mixed in there before the year is out. But knowing how things are with Xbox right now, we'll probably get at least, I would say at least 2, and then possibly like a DLC, whether that's the Starborn for Starfield, or the Land of the Giants for Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a pretty stacked year, and next year is already setting up to be a stacked year. So
yeah, and again, that doesn't include any of the updates or content for any of these other games or franchises that are ongoing as well. That's something else that the competition doesn't have. But Xbox is starting to provide that for everybody. That's why they're the number one publisher in gaming. It's just absolutely crazy. And if a game doesn't hit, like that comes into Game Pass day and date that doesn't hit for me, like Adamfall doesn't, like I'm like, okay, fucking move on. I don't care. I'll just move on to the next one. It's crazy to see all this going down finally, Fuzz. Yeah, it'll be a different world, seeing these games and Forza and stuff on a PlayStation for the first time. Like just Forza, PlayStation, weird. Like I think we'll have the same reaction the first time we see Gears or Halo, or a Fable eventually ends up going over there as well. It's like those are kind of like so synonymous with the Xbox brand and identity that it's just like strange world to live in, to see like somebody have a PlayStation 5 or whatever and boot it up and to see those games, right? The Xbox Game Studios logo pop up, and the whoever the developer was of whatever game it's going to be. But yeah, ultimately, if you can separate yourself from the whole identity of what it used to mean to be Xbox, and kind of start looking forward to what it's turning into, might start to become at ease with it a little bit if you think about the benefits for you as a gamer. But
yeah,
it is what it is, right?
well, there's a couple of cool things that like, and I know they said this in like the court case that they're not going to do any special bonuses or benefits for Call of Duty, but at least on the War Zone end of things, or any free to play game for that matter, they're going to have perks mixed into Game Pass Ultimate or even PC Game Pass. So we'll start to see more of that. The Steam on the future Xbox hardware. I think that's that trade-off, making their games more multiplat, but also getting access to Steam. The games that sometimes only wind up being on PC and avoid the consoles altogether, or wind up being in early access, like your No Rest for the Wicked or Hades 2 kind of stuff. We'll have access to the things like that. So yeah, it's future of Xbox is definitely growing, especially if you're looking to play either games on the go, games on a console, in front of your TV, on your computer, laptop, handheld device, on the go kind of thing. It just, yeah, it's It's looking great.
Yeah, man. Legend the Dariobi says fingers crossed for Starfield online multiplayer. Yeah, man, that's
Yes.
like my dream thing. If we could get like a co-op where we could have a fucking crew on Starfield, it'd just be insane. But I want everybody to be able to like take it. You know how in Starfield you can have your stations for like your crew members, right? I want to
Mhm.
be actually able to like go in and actually man a station and actually have to do shit. Like you're a gunner or something or whatever, and you're responsible for engaging in the firefight. Like in Star Wars when like Luke would have to man the fucking cannon, the turret,
Yeah.
like I would be that fucking guy, in Starfield manning the cannons and stuff. That'd be pretty crazy, bro. Wandering around the planets together, going through levels and stuff, building together too. Like that game has so much potential for that kind of thing. If they can do it with an online version. But I think we'll see if ZeniMax Online ends up creating that, or if it's something in the future. I don't know. I want to see it.
I can just imagine like the space battles. Like
Hmm.
I know a lot of people love Eve Online and what was the other one, Star Citizen and stuff, but
Yeah,
they do that for Starfield, man. It I think that will be Xbox's version of GTA Online at that point, but in space. But like, yeah, I think that would be their cash cow, their new cash cow that they did not expect.
yeah. I mean, I can see it now. A whole spin-off game, Starfield Pirates. And like everybody, just think of like Sea of Thieves kind of in space with Starfield, and like everybody can pick a planet, and like it's kind of like a shared world experience, and like you create your base and you
Mhm,
can have battles and wars over territory and resources, and you can raid other people's ships and get in battles. You can, if you disable one, you can dock it and have a fight inside the ships. Then you have your like, hey, no combat zone planets, like where the cities are and stuff like that, where
mhm,
everybody's like, hey, eyeing each other walking down the streets, but we know they're up to no good. We all kind of interact. Maybe you can even create alliances and trade gear and stuff.
mhm,
Customize your own like emblems and outfits that represent your fleet or whatever you want to call it.
mhm.
Man, everybody has their own ships too, and then you have your big ship for your crew. Maybe you could have like the main ship followed by like three. I can imagine so many possibilities with fucking
Oh yeah,
Starfield Online, dude. Like I could spend an hour talking about the possibilities of that. It'd just be fucking incredible, dude. Want to see it.
yeah. That
Want to see it.
that that they got to do it at some point. Whether it's the next ZeniMax Online game or maybe instead of well, for Starfield 2, it's expanded into like a co-op experience or an MMO type of experience. That
Yeah,
it
it sounds like
they're going to have
almost.
to write sick leave notes for people taking a lot of time off
Yeah,
work playing the game.
yeah, 100%, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anything's possible. But yeah, I'm curious if there's anything in the works like that. God of Sofa King says UNSC versus Pirates versus Ranger versus Corpo. Bring the UNSC
Yeah.
into it. Bringing some Halo shit in there. Okay, love it, man. Um, yeah, so we'll see how these games do. Hitting PlayStation, I think they'll do well. And yeah, besides that, man, there's like I mean, we've already kind of got into the Ubisoft stuff. You know, um,
Yeah.
I still keep my eye on that, wondering how that's going to go. But what do you think the next announced franchise is that's going to PlayStation? Because I mean, they're doing these kind of together. They're the same
Mhm.
month, but they haven't announced any more yet. And I kind of, in a way, I feel like they're like holding off for some reason because they don't want
Yeah.
to create just utter chaos amongst the community, even though these have created enough chaos in and of itself. But
Yeah.
I mean, Doom's obviously is multiplat from the get go. Tony
Right.
Hawk was multiplat from the get-go. Nobody was necessarily crying too much over those because
No.
those games have been synonymous with multiple platforms to begin with, right? So, but besides that, like, you think it's Gears when they announced that collection?
There's 3 titles, Gears Collection being one of them. I think the Obsidian, not Obsidian, Oblivion, that's a given that if and when it's announced, it'll more than likely be multiplat as well. But these two are probably going to be like the third rail for the Xbox community to some extent. But I think a lot of us at this point have kind of moved on from
Mhm.
all of the drama for it. But it'll be a toss up between Hellblade 2 and then the one I really don't want it to be, but I'm fine with now. It's just I don't want Colin Moriarty to be right. To be Starfield.
Yeah.
Those are the two. Like I think with Starfield, if they wind up doing a multiplayer or a co-op uh, add-on to it, that would probably make the most sense to include them as well. 'Cause that would just make it like it would truly be like Xbox versus PlayStation in space at that point. But Hellblade 2, I could see because of the first one being on PlayStation as well. I could see it making its appearance
Yeah.
there. And for all those that badmouth it, oh, the first one was better, and then they get to actually play the second one.
Yeah, the second
I
one's so
I
much
think
better.
that'll yeah, I think it'll open some eyes as far as like the combat to me. Yes, you could get surrounded in the first one, but you felt like you were fighting for your life
Yeah.
in the second one, and that's without doing the I think they call it adjustable or whatever or dynamic. Yeah, don't do the dynamic. Do either like hard or whatever the harder level was. Yeah, you're literally fighting for your life. But I think Hellblade 2 or Starfield, but
Yeah.
if
I th-
Starfield goes, please do co-op first or have it with co-op or multiplayer mixed in, just so that way we can have the pirate battles versus PlayStation
yeah.
at that point.
It'll be cool, man. I think it it's I think you might be right on Hellblade 2 because there was recent rumors about that happening as soon as April, and we haven't had an announcement of it yet. But it could be a quick turnaround thing, also, right?
Yeah.
Starfield, I think it's gonna happen at some point as well. I think everything eventually, right, at this point. But yeah, I'm just curious
Yeah.
which games are like to that point. You know, now Ninja Theory is not the fastest devs either. And I don't know if there would be the one handling the port. I know that Xbox went to other studios to help with the ports for some of these other games, right? Like I think Forza Horizon 5 has another studio that worked on its port to PlayStation and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting to see how it happens. And again, like our show on Monday, we talk about exclusivity kind of melting away in the industry as a whole, like this whole next gen Xbox thing, the Steam talk. I've seen a lot of people getting outside of the Xbox fan base. There were some people like, I still want my traditional. I want to go to Target. I want to go to fucking Walmart or GameStop, and I want to go buy a disc. And I want it to only be playable on my Xbox, and I want to go put it in my disc tray and just play the game. I don't want to have to connect to no internets or anything like that. I want to own my games. Fuck those subscription services and all that kind of stuff. I just want everything like it was 15 years ago in the good old days, Yeah. See, a lot of those guys are like, I don't want my Xbox to be like a PC. Fuck
Yeah.
PC. PC's stupid. I don't want to own a PC. You got newsflash. Your Xbox is still going to work like an Xbox. It's just going to be
Yeah.
capable of more things if this happens, right? But
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of people still kind of with that mentality. I've seen people kind of embrace the possibilities of what that actually means for gamers. I've seen people argue about how bad it is for Xbox if they do this because they're just sabotaging their own storefront. It doesn't even make any damn sense. Why would they do that to themselves? Well, if it doesn't work for them financially, fuck, I don't care. I get all my games on one device. Like
Yeah.
it's weird how people advocate so much from the fear of the success of the companies and stop losing focus on what's better for them personally as
Yeah.
gamers. You give me access to my entire Xbox library, my entire Game Pass library, my all my PC Xbox games, and also my Steam games on the same fucking console that's easy to go grab and plug up to a TV, and I have all that available to me. Hey, I am sold on that shit. Please give it to me, right? But the
Mhm.
funny thing is, I've actually seen, on the flip side, I've actually seen like some like this is kind of starting to become a thing, Fuzzy, outside of our bubble of gaming community where we all talk about gaming news and stuff. This is
Mhm.
starting to spread to more of the casual audience about this news of Steam potentially going to Xbox. And some are starting to be like, wow, if that happens, that's actually a crazy thing. And I actually might actually be interested in getting an Xbox, for the first time or something. Um, even my my daughter doesn't follow gaming news,
Mhm.
right? My daughter doesn't follow gaming news. She sees stuff occasionally on TikTok and things like that, right? Or she'll, be interested in some games like and she'll hear about things from her friends and stuff like that. But she's not like going to fucking websites or following news channels and watching, gaming news podcasts and all that stuff. She'll watch people play video games occasionally or whatever.
Mhm.
But she actually it was like today she was like, "Is Steam coming to Xbox?" Just out of nowhere. I was like, "Where'd you hear about that?" She said, "I saw it on TikTok." I was like, "Really?" So like, there's starting to that news is starting to rumble around just the kind of more regular streets of gaming about the possibility of that. And in those circles, there's a lot of excitement about the possibility of that
Yeah.
happening, about being able to buy like an Xbox device, plug it into your TV, and have all your Xbox stuff there, but still be able to access your Steam library. So it's something to keep an eye on, man. Like, and that can kind of have an effect on mentality of the casual market and stuff as well. So, have you noticed
Well, I think,
any trends with that news at all, Fuzz?
yeah, and I think it's something that maybe some of the hardcore overlook. Like it may seem like it's a hindrance to Xbox's business model or their store, but having that competition will benefit us in the long run. Like there's going to be some overlap. There's Steam
Yeah,
games that are sold in the Xbox store, but
Xbox sells
remember,
their
Steam
game
is
on the Xbox on the Steam store too, right?
mhm, they're all digital. And what have we been complaining about when it came to digital pricing on these games? There doesn't seem to be as many sales, although Steam is famous for their sales. But having that on that device means that means you're going to have to see more sales out of Xbox's store because they're going to be looking over at, well, how many people are actually buying on Steam versus us? Oh, well, they're below us on this game for $2, and this game that looks like they have a $15 off after like 2 weeks or 3 weeks from the game launching. So maybe we need to start doing those types of sales. So it's going to make it more competitive between those two brands, which benefits us as the consumer being able to possibly pick up digital games for cheaper because normally with the physical copies it's like, oh, after a certain amount of weeks, yeah, it's like bargain bin time for the physical copies, but digital copies don't get that same luxury. So that's the main thing I'm looking forward to. I think some people are starting to notice that will be a potential benefit, at least from the consumer side of things. But the other aspect is now that means Microsoft has to improve their Windows Store, which we've seen some of the updates that they're doing for like the inner circle or the insider loop that they have. That it's making it more or look a little bit more like a Steam like
Hmm.
layout where you have a listing of your friends that played the games. I mean, we have that on console, but sometimes when you go to those game hubs or whatever that's on console, sometimes they won't have an up to date posting from the developer, or they may not have all of the info as far as for DLC or things along those lines. Now they're going with a more unified look that's more on par with Steam, which means that's improving that Windows Store that was probably their Achilles heel on the PC side of things. So that's another thing that I'm looking forward to. And another thing that a few people are noticing, although it may be more so the PC Xbox crowd, I guess you could say, but an improvement there is an improvement overall, and that's what we want out of Xbox, is for them to always improve. And I think this is going to lead to a lot of that. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. I just would just the thought of it. Like I always think about how it's gonna work and stuff, and accessing things. It's a reality that's right now. It's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors. A lot of insiders saying that things are happening with this. Xbox put out some material that they were like, "Oops," and took it away. You know, um, More things have happened with updates. They did announce some other kind of PC things that they're doing with integration stuff, but overall, it's like something that is out there. That there's a lot of smoke. That is very. I mean, this is a lot of smoke. I mean, fucking on fire. Like there's a lot of smoke to this thing. But until we actually see it, anything's possible to happen. Um, so we'll have to play it slow and still let things happen over time, right? To let them do these updates, let them come out with the systems, these handheld devices they're partnering with, the new OS stuff they're working on, the Xbox Anywhere improvements, the stream your own game improvements, joining Windows with Xbox type thing that they keep talking about. Like all of these things still got to happen before we get to that launch point for that true next gen experience and what could be like 2 years away, you know. But it's gonna be an interesting ride leading up to that as we keep seeing things evolve for Xbox until then. So I'm telling everybody now. I know a lot of people jumped ship last year. I know a lot of people jumped ship last year. But if you want to have the best value and the best potential access to your games in the ecosystem, hold on to your coattails and just sit pretty for a little while and play these games that are going to keep coming to us month after month into Game Pass over the next couple of years while you wait, and we'll see what happens early next generation for hardware, for you know uh, game announcements, for third party partnerships, all of the above. I think it's going to be a crazy world with changes. Um, but that's exciting. Some people don't like change. I find
You
change
never do.
exciting. Yeah. Never do. Never do. I still want to buy cartridges for my games. Can't Xbox just bring out cartridges, Fuzzy?
Man, that was. I'm so glad we've moved on from cartridges, because that was like the most expensive component type of thing. Like a chip that they have to specifically build and have the entire game run on.
Yeah.
Like before we could do updates and whatnot. Like, no, let's not
Yeah.
go back to that. I'm glad we're starting to move off of physical. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but I would have thought, beginning of this generation would have been the sign with, PS5 having a digital edition, Series S being all digital. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if the next consoles or next generation of consoles are digital, where you have to buy an accessory disk drive kind of thing, if you want to still do physical copies and stuff. But
Yeah.
not to knock those that are about physical copies, but
So
like it's
we talked about this last night, Fuzz, and I got a lot wrong early on because I was seeing this news as I was covering what was going on with the Nintendo Direct. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, what is this?" And I saw an article is like all this. So during the show last night, I was like, "Oh, this sucks because of this." But then I found out, "Oh no, it's actually not bad." But what I'm talking about is the Nintendo is doing like virtual game cards for their. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the Nintendo Direct yesterday? Okay,
No,
so
I
there's
didn't.
yeah, there's a cool. This is pretty damn cool, and I have to say, Um, Now the traditional game sharing still works there, right? As I've found out a lot during the show last night, as I was educated by the chat, right? So game sharing still works like it does now in Nintendo, but they're coming out with an update to where your digital games are basically going to be digital, like virtual cartridges, right? And you're going to be able to, like, if you somebody else brings over their Switch, okay, you're going to be able to like lend your game virtually to that person, and they can put it on their device, right? They can go home and they can play that game for 14 days, whatever. If they don't exchange it back by that point, it automatically goes back to the owner's ability to play it. And then if it does expire or whatever, you can re-up it and you can lend it back. You can lend your game to one person at a time, right?
Mm.
So they're making it to where basically we can exchange games via a like borrowing system with virtual games with anybody. Now it has to be like a local thing. I don't think you can like it would be the same thing as like, hey, here's my game, right? But you're just doing it
Mhm.
digitally, right? Um, so that's something that seemed really cool. It reminds me, like Pong said last night, of like in a way what Xbox was thinking about in 2013 or 2012 when they were
Yeah.
talking about the
Mhm.
whole, you know, when everybody freaked out about DRM because you have to be online initially to make it work and function and stuff. But like to turn our games into something that is more like an item that can be borrowed and exchanged and all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool concept. And it's something I would like to see other companies, if this works well, actually approach and look at. Because if let's say like now I don't know the limitations on it because it's not like I have a bunch of random guys coming over here that are like gonna bring their fucking Xbox over, not like kids would with their friends and Switches, right? But
Yeah.
if you could do that between friends online, if let's say you create like a family group, even like on Switch, you're gonna be able to have like a family group of 8 people, right?
Mhm.
Um, let's say I could have like a family group online of like several people, and you can create this like game exchange group or something like that, where you can exchange games, let people borrow your old games, like and stuff. That'd be pretty fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
So, I'll give Nintendo. I've argued so much about how bullshit a lot of the stuff they do is, right. But this was after finding out more information during the show last night. This is a pretty fucking it's a pretty cool thing that they're doing, and I think it's in preparation for the Switch 2. And obviously, like they see things going more virtual and digital, and they're trying to make a friendly way to handle that. So kudos to Nintendo. Hope other companies actually take note. We'll see.
Yes. Please, we need that digital rights management where at some point we can sell or exchange
Yeah.
digital games. Like we bought it, we should own it enough to be able to sell it to somebody else. I don't care if they get a percent of the proceeds as long as it's not more than tax
A
equivalent.
service fucking fee. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
transfer fee or bullshit like that. You know it would happen, right? But in a
Yeah.
way they can make their little
Mhm.
cut off of it. But at the same time, like you have the ability to manage your library like that and actually sell stuff. Like I want to see that future. I think it could um take more government restriction on these businesses and stuff and for digital rights over time. But that's a
Yeah.
really cool thing to think about. That's what we should be asking for as we're in this digital world now. And I mean that not just for games, you should be able to do it with music and movies and everything.
Mhm.
If you own it, right, the rights to access that content, you should be able to have the ability to um transfer, sell those rights to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to Adidas 20 member for 5 months. Says salute to you, sir. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And I think the Switch 2 is going to get a show soon as well,
Mhm.
for more announcements. So we'll keep our ears peeled on that. And somebody said in the chat earlier is like maybe the next Multiplat games or games going other places that get announced from Xbox will actually be for the Switch 2. And that's a good call also, because I could see
Yeah.
several games going there as well. All right, Fuzz. Well, this was a fun show, 2-man show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
It's missing Pong, missing Jasper, Psychos, still working. It's
Yeah.
just us, but that's cool. It was fun hanging out with you tonight. And Chad, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. We'll be hanging out maybe this weekend at some point, playing some games. I'm going to be playing Wreckfest 2, I think, at some point this weekend to give it a go on stream. I think I want to stream some Assassin's Creed Shadows as well. So if you guys are interested in watching some
Nice.
streams and stuff, come hang out. Look for that. Fuzzy, what you got going on, man? What you got going on this week, and where people find you?
Oh, well, as always appreciate being on the show with you, as well as just talking to the industry, gaming in general. Yeah, this was definitely fun. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys showing up. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate the support. For me, you can find my rambles and rants on anything gaming related on Twitter, well, on social media in general. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. You'll be able to find me. Uh, I'm not sure if we're doing Shop Podcast this Sunday, but Pixelated Echoes, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. Then there will be no Xbox Lunch Break special Monday afternoon, but be on the lookout for FSP, 9 p.m. right here on this channel next Monday. And for the most part, just hanging out on social media. Looking forward to more gaming news like Jasper posted in the chat about Mind's Eye.
Yeah, it's good.
I
That's like
think that's going to out.
June, I think, right?
Yeah, like I think that outdoes GTA 6. People are gonna call me crazy for saying that, but
Oh,
that's
and
the
I mean,
original guy.
in what terms? Like
I
critically,
think
or
I think both critically and long term sales
oh,
wise.
you're crazy.
I know I
Yeah,
am.
yeah, it's
But
crazy. Yeah, you're crazy. That's fine though.
it's the
I like it.
it's the guy that was originally doing a lot of the GTA's before they stopped paying him or paying him what he was
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
worth over at Rockstar. So I think he's got a grudge to grind kind of deal with them. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I saw the trailer. I remember the reveal actually of the game. I thought, oh, wow, that looks great. You know, it looks like a great game. And I think it was actually at the State of Play. It was like with the
Hmm.
one highlight that was like kind of okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
And I saw it was at something else too. But yeah, I saw this new trailer for the announcement of the release date. And I was like, yeah, it looks great. You know, I mean, it does
Mhm.
look for a first game for the studio. You know, probably the size of the team. I think it's going to be probably like better than people expect, and it's going to be kind of like, wow, look at this. It's kind of, I think it's like open world too and stuff. You know, and I think it's
Yeah.
gonna, I think it will surprise some people. Be a great game, but I just think overall, like the amount of years and production and the amount of developers and money that goes into something like GTA, it'll be interesting. Now there is I will give you this, Fuzz. Like there I mean GTA 6 has the biggest expectations of all time in gaming,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like I mean there's never a game I think ever that has had the expectations that GTA 6 will have, right? I mean, it's their own fault. They waited 2 generations to come out with the next game, right?
Yeah.
They have cemented that GTA 5 is like one of the biggest games of all time. It's just like been gangbusters for them, much beloved, grown the audience and fan base even beyond what it ever was before, to the point where this game has this monumental task to live up to something that I think is probably impossible to live up to, right? So I mean, I think it's gonna sell day one like fucking crazy. I mean, I don't honestly. Mind's Eye, I think will do well,
Yeah.
but I don't think it'll ever even touch even close to what GTA 6's day one sales are, right? So
Yeah.
in that regard, I think, but I like where you're going with that. I I think GTA 6 though does have a small chance to, if it launches and it creates a like somehow like a Cyberpunk 2077 situation. You remember at launch where everybody was like,
Yeah.
"This is gonna be the greatest fucking game of all time." Right? And it was like disappointing to some because it ran like shit on their systems or whatever. Like I don't think it'll do that. But
No.
there is a chance where it's like, "Oh, this is great, but like what was I why was I so high?" There's a chance it could be disappointing, and
Yeah.
that could have a ripple effect to make it maybe not as successful over a long time as GTA 5 was, right?
Yeah.
But just from the day one and like the early sales of that game is going to be monumental, I think. And then what happens after it comes out over time, I think is still gonna probably end up being fucking crazy.
Yeah.
With updates and content but yeah, it
I'm
also
really
could
stoked
exceed
about it.
expectations. Where like our
Yeah.
minds could be like they've done it. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 for me, I was like so looking forward to that game, right?
Mhm.
And I still can't believe a game on an last generation looks and plays like it's story like everything about that game is a masterpiece to me
Yeah.
now. And I can't believe like as long as we waited for it and how much they put into it, all the development problems they supposedly had on it and all these other things, that it exceeded the expectations that I could have for it, right? So
Yeah.
it's possible it could exceed expectations, but we'll have to wait and see if our minds get exploded and blown. Anyway, um, anything else, Fuzzy? Um,
No, no. It's just everybody play some games, have some fun out there. Don't let the grifters or um, the naysayers ruin your enjoyment of gaming. That's about the best way I could put it.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, don't let the negativity infect your mind and you become like them. that's that's the thing. But yeah, everybody will be, like I said, may have some streams this weekend. So keep your eyes open for that. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when we go live. Also, if you follow on Twitter, Fun Speculation, you will find out before. We usually make a post a little bit before we go live as well. And we got shows coming up next week. We'll see what other news happens. FSP Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. PM and the PM should be next week at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and then back next Friday for Xbox Ultimate Podcast. Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy your games wherever you are, and take it easy. Peace. Bye.